Good afternoon. I want to call the Committee on Higher Education to order. We have the 3 p.m. agenda here in room 229. Today is February 9th. To my left is Senator Carol Fukunaga, a member of the committee, and I assume some of the other members will be coming in shortly. Let me start with, housekeeping. This meeting is being streamed live on YouTube. In the unlikely event we must abruptly end this hearing due to technical difficulties, the committee will reconvene to discuss any outstanding business 3 p.m. February 14th, room 229, and a public notice will be posted on the legislature's website. For those of you who are participating remotely, all testifier audio will be muted and video disabled until shortly before your turn to testify, and testifiers will be limited to 2 minutes. At the end of 2 minutes, the audio will be automatically muted. I'll be reading from a list of people who have submitted written testimony for each measure. We apologize if the closed captioning does not accurately transcribe your names. And if you're interested in reviewing the written testimony, you can go to legislature's website. You'll find a link on the status page for the measure. Again, if there's any temporary technical glitches during your turn to testify, we may have to move on due to technical time restraints. We appreciate your understanding. So, starting off with our 3 p.m. agenda. First item is Senate Bill 1510, University of Hawaii Astronomy, Engineering, and Instrumentation. No, I'm sorry, it's wrong. That was the other agenda we just did. We're on 1414. Exempts the University of Hawaii and the University Board of Regents from certain provisions of the Hawai'i Public Procurement Code involving research and training contracts and grants or research and training revolving funds expended in direct support of research and training contracts and grants, requires the Board of Regents to develop internal policies and procedures exempt from Chapter 103D via revised statutes for the procurement of goods and services for research and training contracts and grants, and training revolving funds expended in support thereof. Authorize the University of Hawaii President to delegate procurement authority for research and training contracts and grants to the university's Vice President for Research and Innovation. I wonder who that is. Requires the Board of Regents to submit reports to the legislature. First up, we have Candace Park, Deputy Attorney General. Candace?
Thank you, Chair, member of the committee. Just pointing out two things. One, the Constitution requires the law be identified as a matter of statewide concern. And two, in order to ensure the intent of the bill is carried out, we suggest clarification to provisions which were pointed out in our testimony. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Stacy Kaule, can we say this? Kaule-Namoku.
Aloha kake.
For Procurement Office.
Yes.
Aloha, Stacy.
Aloha ka Co-Chair Kim, Vice Chair Kidani, and members of the committee. My name is Stacy Leimomi Kaule-Namoku, testifying on behalf of my acting administrator of the State Procurement Office, Bonnie Kahakui. The State Procurement Office did provide written testimony and wanted to add comments that my SPO administrator would be fine with narrowing the exemption only to the procurements of goods and services for research and training, in addition to compliance with HRS 103D 310C, requiring procurement officers to verify vendors' compliance for all awards of $2,500 and above. Mahalo for the committee for the opportunity to testify.
Okay, so the testimony and support providing some of those clarifications are made in the bill.
Yeah.
Correct? Okay, thank you very much. Basilis Sormos, Dr. Sormos, testifying for the University of Hawaii in support.
Standing by.
You're standing.
Support and thank you for providing the university the first time.
You might as well sit, there'll be questions.
Oh, okay. I made myself comfortable. Good afternoon, Chair. Good afternoon, Vice Chair. Good afternoon, Senator Kanaga. We are in support of the bill. we appreciate the legislature considering giving the university procurement exemption for our extramural funds and our RTRF funds.
Okay, thank you. Is it there? Anyone else here wishing to testify on this measure or on Zoom? Hearing none. Dr. Sarmos, so for all these years, you folks have been running these programs through RCUH.
The Research Corporation of the University of Hawaii is actually executing procurement for our extramural funds and also some of our RTRF funds, yes.
So why have you folks decided that you think UH should be doing it themselves, yourself?
We never thought that the legislature would be willing to consider such a provision.
Okay, and I assume there's some savings by doing this?
Usually the university pays RCUH for the execution of procurement and also human resources around, I want to say, $5.5 to $6 million a year. 60% of that is for the HR services, human resources services, and 40% is for the procurement. So if we do the math, it's around $2.4 million. In savings, it's going to cost us something to run it, but it's not going to be $2.4 million.
Okay.
So, also, I want to say that it's not going to be immediate. We would have to actually consult with the state procurement office, with our procurement office, in order to set guidelines and regulations with respect to the procurement process.
Okay. So you know that I have been very concerned about the costs and the expenses at the University of Hawaii keeps growing, and the tuition, although it's not been raised, it plans to get raised in 2 years, and it's never gone down. And I'm told that for a student at the university, in-state tuition with dorming could cost anywhere from $20,000 to $30,000 a year. So we're hoping that measures like this will help bring down the expenses and the cost.
For sure, it's going to bring down the cost for the research enterprise, but I'm not the CFO of the university. Calvert is here. You know, every penny counts. So whenever we save money, we save money. So.
Okay, and you know that this exemption would be strictly limited to research and training grants and not construction or anything else that RCUH has been using the exemption for UH?
We wouldn't want to get into construction and do things like that in the exemption. I'm personally willing to work with you in the Hawaii State Procurement Office to show you how we're going to set it up. And as I said, it's not going to happen tomorrow. It's going to take us at least 9 months to set up to do it correctly. Okay,
and there's no cost involved in setting?
It's going to cost, I want to say 3 to 4 positions. So that cost, and it's not going to cost you anything. Right, we're going to absorb the cost, correct.
Okay, members, any other questions? It's just Dr. Sermons. No, thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator.
Moving on to Senate Bill 1511 relating to the Research Corporation of the University of Hawaii, clarifies the purpose of the Research Corporation, the University of Hawaii, and its undertakings shall be limited to acts that are reasonably necessary to carry out its purpose, repeals the requirement the University of Hawaii contract with the Research Corporation when the university determines that other agencies cannot more effectively or efficiently accomplish certain research training activities, grandfathers existing Research Corporation contracts, requires new contracts to be subject to new limitation, authorizes Research Corporation to conduct certain minor renovation projects at a cost of $2 million or less, requires revolving accounts to follow corporation policies, requires biannual reports to the university regarding internal service orders and revolving accounts of the Research Corporation, and utilize University of Hawaii's intramural funds. First up is Dawn Chang, chairperson for DLNR.
Aloha, my name is Lainey Berry. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm here to represent acting DLNR Chair Dawn Chang, and we stand on our written testimony.
Thank you very much. Dr. Sermos.
Sermos, Vice President for Research at the University. I would like to offer that you provide an opportunity, Senator, both for the university and RCUH to work together to address some of the issues that the legislation proposes. We are aware that there have been significant issues in the past. Some of those you've brought up. Some of those have been brought by others earlier. What I would really like to see is that you give us the opportunity, like you gave us last year. You brought the issue, a very good look about the revolving funds and how the university can work with RCUH to deal with that situation. And we did. And as of July 1st of 2023, the revolving funds of the university will reside with the university, so you can see it and everybody else can. And I don't want to talk for RCUH, but I think they are standing by to help the university and everybody else to do a good job. So these are my comments.
Okay, thank you. We will have more questions. Just to make a note that the Senate did pass Senate Resolution 148. It was adopted, and this is a RCUH task force. The report was made to the, so we have been working on this, and so
for a long time, Senator. Yes.
Thank you. Leonard Gouveia, Executive Director, testifying for RCUH in opposition.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, and other members. Lenny Gouveia, RCUH Executive Director. Thank you for this opportunity. I'll stand on my submitted testimony, and we'll be here for questions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Tim Lyons, President, testifying for Subcontractors Association of Hawaii in opposition. I think in opposition of the exemption for procurement. We do have a number of people that have not signed up but sent in testimony, approximately 20 others, all in opposition. Anyone else here wishing to testify on this measure that have not signed up or signed up and I haven't called their name? Anybody else? No other people wishing to testify? Okay, we are in questions, members.
Can I give oral testimony?
Yes.
Hello, Chair, Vice Chair, committee members.
Can you identify yourself?
My name is Brandon Wolf. I'm with the International Longshore Warehouse Union. We stand in strong support of Senate Bill 1511. ILW would like to see more accountability and transparency in regards to RCUH. Mahalo for the opportunity to testify.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Anyone else wishing to testify? Not? Members, any questions? Okay, where do I start? Why don't I start with you, Mr. Sermos? So in your testimony, you did talk about the revolving accounts.
Yes.
And that UH did, in fact, take that under consideration. You did. How much money was that involved?
That is around $1 million, 800 something.
Okay, and those are savings again.
Yes.
UH will.
Yes.
Assume.
And yes, and most importantly, the $800,000. It is an important amount of money, but to me, it is the transparency and the compliance with respect to these revolving accounts. It's much better done, I think, within the university because we're able to see those.
Right, and there were some concerns that those revolving accounts weren't meeting the requirements that was needed in order for RCUH to handle those accounts, right?
Correct.
Okay.
But we rectified all that. I want to say that.
Okay. What about the ex-MBA program that was granting degrees out of RCUH? Did you folks rectify that? We
did rectify that. It's not out of RCUH anymore, at least as of July 1st, 2023.
Okay, because that was another issue, probably.
Correct.
What about study abroad?
That is rectified as well. It's not part of our revolving accounts.
Okay. And then construction, though, there has been issues with them. They constructed our West Oahu.
Chair, that is long time ago. I think it's 10 years ago. I don't think that RCUH does construction anymore, and I don't
That's
think
not true. They're doing the early clinical trials. Cancer Center, $16 million.
Yes, and that is it's a little bit different because it is it's a little bit different because it is a blend between general obligation bonds that you provided to the university to match the $6.5 million or $5.5 million of the NIH grant we had, and we had actually sent the $5.5 million from the federal government up to RCUH because we always send our extramural funds to be executed at RCUH. So,
but it doesn't have to be. You guys can execute it, correct?
Correct. It does not have to be. It does not have to be. And as I said, I'm not going to speak for RCUH. Today, we wouldn't have done that. We would have executed the money through the University of Hawaii and Vice President Uea's office, which actually she is extremely involved with this project.
Right, but she was the one that sent it over to RCUH.
I don't think it was Jan per se.
She testified in a previous that said and I asked her, why couldn't you folks do it? And she said, I guess we couldn't. We could have, but they didn't.
I would think, Senator, that it was the request of the Cancer Center director or the Cancer Center administration for the money to go to RCUH.
Do you guys grant every request?
Excuse me?
Do you grant every request?
For extramural funds, we automatically grant every request, yes.
Okay. Members, any other questions of Dr. Sermos?
Yes.
Yes. Somebody sit down.
So when you have these requests, does the Board of Regents get involved in any way? Is it brought to their attention?
Very good question, Senator. If for construction, the amount surpasses $5 million, then the Board of Regents have to approve that project like they did for the Cancer Center. And if there is a professional services agreement over $1 million, then also the Board of Regents has to approve that. Anything below those two thresholds, they don't.
So do you have a list of those projects within the past, say, 3 years that you guys have done?
We absolutely do, Senator.
I'd like to see that list, please.
Yes, and if I may ask, you want the construction ones or every project?
Every project.
You're creating a lot of work for my office, Senator, and I see wasted.
Yeah, but RCUH only takes up what requests you send over to.
And I only said 3 years. I could have said more. So
You could, yes.
Good, thank you. Any other questions of Dr. Sermons? Now we will, next, Mr. Govea.
Thank you, Chair Kim.
Thank you. So in your testimony, you did mention the 2021 UH Task Force report, and I also alluded to that as well. In the report, there were 6 recommendations. So can I go over and see which recommendations you folks, in fact, did complete? One of them, it says RCH should explore measures to bring the UH Extramural Awards share of operating costs with the amount available based on the 10% cap of the RTRF. Did you folks do that? Did you folks bring this in line with that?
Yes, and we have been saving as much money as we can across the board for our sewage expenses. We have more work than ever being done by the least amount of people right now. We've been working very closely with UH, both president and Facilis, to curb down that expenses.
So is it capped at 10%?
It's not a cap.
But that's what was recommendation. Right?
Well, at the time, the discussion was to put a cap, but we met with UH and we were going to reevaluate the internal agreement, and we met with President Lasner as well as Facilis, as well as the chair for our Board of Regents, and the decision was made that it was not necessary to make changes to the internal agreement and that we were going to address these issues in another manner.
Okay, but the task force membership was Dr. Sermos, yourself, Glenn Yee, Eugene Wall, the Board of Regents, Brian Taylor, Dean of School of Ocean and Earth Science, Michael Unabasame, VP for UH Community College, Dr. Velma Kamikona, and these were their recommendations, and that's why we asked for this task force. So you're saying that you guys didn't take the recommendations, yet you went to some of the members that was on the task force and you guys changed?
No, we absolutely used what the task force had put together.
But you don't following the cap, the 10% cap?
No, Facilities can add to this, but we felt, they're not even at a 10% cap right now. 10% really isn't an issue.
Okay, I
even though
understand the recommendations from the task force. It's not my task force.
Understood.
Right? Okay, the other recommendation is that UH and RCH should jointly revise the service order criteria for intramural service orders and revolving account service orders, some of which might be outside the scope of UH authorized use, RCH under the HRS. So
Correct.
have you folks revised the order criteria for intramural service orders?
As represented by Basilis to you on a prior hearing as well as today, all of those will be completed by July of this year. And all the revolving accounts are moving back to the university. And so the answer is yes, and it's ongoing until
Okay, that's
June,
the
July.
revolving. What about the intramural service orders?
So we're working on the intramural service orders as well. We're working on all of the accounts.
So you're working on the criteria for requesting intramural funded projects?
The criteria has been there for a long time.
Yes.
I know, actually, I don't remember whether it was your request or Senator De La Cruz's request about the internal service order agreements and that the university has with RCUAs, which we're preparing to give you, to send you. And that has also triggered an internal review of our criteria of that internal service order. So my office, as we prepare that information to be transmitted to your office, also is doing a cursory review on some of those internal service order agreements.
Okay. I raise this concern because the whole intent of RCUH was to make it quicker, more efficient, to be able to take research grants and training grants and to be able to facilitate it in a very timely manner. But over the years, this has grown. The reach of RCUH has grown. One of the concerns on the intramural funded projects, according to this very old guideline and policies, that this criteria, this recommendation was asked that it be revised, and it hasn't been. It says a university shall not request the services of RCUH for purposes of convenience or to intentionally circumvent the provisions applicable to state statutes. And yet it says criteria for requesting RCUH services for extramural funded positions. And it says projects involving a private organization with unusual or complex requirements. Projects in which there are unusual procurement problems. Those are general issues. Projects in which there are human resource problems which might be handled more efficiently or effectively outside the state or UH personnel system. Projects involving research facility management where any combination of the above mentioned problems exist. So I guess my concern is that these intramural funded projects seems like you're circumventing when it's convenient, although it says shouldn't be convenient, but the criteria sounds like it makes it convenient. Am I right or wrong?
I will be the first one to admit that maybe these guidelines need a little bit of a refresh. I don't know when was the last time they were refreshed, but I would be the first one to admit that probably we need to look at those criteria.
So this criteria is RCUH's criteria, correct?
No.
No,
Everything generates from the university. So I think that's one misconception. It's not like we can, as RCUH tells you, that's just not the case. Now, we don't do everything UH tells us to do, because I've been told that, oh, you do whatever UH and Bacillus tells you to do. That's not
Well, I asked
true.
a year or so ago, give me a list of the ones that you folks rejected, and I got none. So I'm to assume that
Well, you
you
asked us if we
rejected
took-
projects.
So I can give you an update on that. We are tracking that now. So we have, I believe, 10 direct projects, and in the last year we rejected 3 officially, and there's 2 that I had rejected personally before it even got to an evaluation because it just wasn't appropriate. So
Thank you.
we're tracking that and doing that with respect to the direct projects. The intramural projects, quite frankly, that's on our plate, but we haven't cleaned that up yet because we're spending so much time on the revolving projects. And with all due respect to Vasilis, he represented to you that the revolving accounts are fine and dandy, and by July it's all done. I can tell you that it's not that easy. It's very complicated, and I don't want people to think that it's just snapping the finger and we're saving $1 million. We're not saving $1 million. UH is not saving. And when I say we, I put myself in the category as we as a state. So I don't consider myself RCUH separate and I'm doing my own thing, beating my own drum. We're doing it with the University of Hawaii as the state of Hawaii. Bacillus will save some money, possibly. I can't confirm or deny that at this point, but UH only paid us $800,000 in 2022 for all of the RCUH accounts that we handled, which were 390 accounts approximately.
But these were all accounts that you accepted, yet when we went down the list, they didn't even meet the qualifications, correct?
Well, they were there in existence when I came on board. I agreed, and Bacillus and I both agreed, based on reviews that we were doing over the years, that some of these don't belong there. All the people who created these things are nowhere around anymore, so we don't know what their justification or basis for it was. All we can tell you is we're going to clean it up now, but we don't want to throw anybody under the bus and say they didn't have good reason to do it or not.
I understand, but that's part of your mission is to review yearly these accounts. And so we've been raising these concerns, and until we bring it up, if there have been any reviews, we certainly don't know about it, and that's where the transparency issue comes in.
Correct. So we are doing that, and we're actively finishing that, but you know, Bacillus and I aren't sitting down with all these people going through all of the accounts. But I can tell you that it's not a real simple process, and we may have some problems even meeting the July deadline. So again, with all due respect to Bacillus, I wouldn't have put a deadline of July because I don't know if we can make that with everything.
If you don't have a deadline, then, you know, you don't.
Correct. So that's Bacillus's decision, and I respect that. That's President and Bacillus's decision. However, me being more of a realist, because I'm more of a trench man, but I've been my whole life, more of a trench man, not just making the decisions. I know what it takes to get the job done and I'm the guy in the middle with these people. So I want to be a little more realistic, and there may be some pretty critical areas that it's so complicated that it's not going to be done. So they're going to have to, those people come to me and say, Lenny, you need to help me. And I'm like, I don't make those decisions. The university makes a decision. So you need to go to Bacillus and President and explain what the problems are. Ship Ops is a perfect example. They don't think that they're going to be able to do all of this in time. I can't make that kind of decisions for them, but I can raise the issue to President and Bacillus and say, look, these things may need a little more time. And that's something that I think that just came on my plate yesterday. That's one example of an area of these revolving accounts that we may have issues with.
Well, I can see that.
And a lot of them played, and I told them, tough luck.
Yeah.
But you're not supposed to be there to begin with.
I'll take it and say we had more than a year. So if we are unable to move it by July 1st, 2023, it's on us.
Yeah, I understand there may be some that will be complicated. But when I went through the list, there are many right off the bat. They were carrying over balances they're not supposed to carry over. They were doing certain things that were, I could see it without even going through it.
Correct.
So, I think the bulk of it can be taken care of. So again, it's upon the agency or the department to make a case why they are using these revolving accounts. And in the meantime, these balances, what was the balance of all these accounts?
$18 million.
$18 million.
And these are interest bearing.
And then we're paying fees on that, right?
Yeah.
UH is paying fees on.
And
that.
their interest bearing too, right?
Yes. So we keep right, $18 million. It's a lot of revolving account dollars that we're not aware of. We were not aware of. We don't account it. We don't see it. We have no clue where these monies came from and where this money goes. And we found in the case of study abroad that they were misusing the monies, right? They were collecting monies. And
They weren't supposed to be collecting money
Right.
through those accounts,
Exactly.
correct? Yes.
So there are a lot of problems which is people have asked who've testified or sent testimony, well, what is the intent of this measure? Why are we trying to cripple RCUH? How are we crippling you with this measure? Because we're trying to clean it up. We've asked you to do this a couple of years now, and I don't see that you're moving in that direction, which
I'll strongly disagree with that. I'm going to tell you, we work super hard. We just moved all of our offices. We cut down the size of our footprint. We literally moved to East West Center now. We're saving as much money as we can for the university and the state. Again, we have the least amount of people doing the most of our work, and all of these things are part of a process, and it's not going to be overnight. We need to be there to help the researchers. And my concern is getting all this work done, getting it straightened out, and we want to help Basilis them as much as possible. And I think that the statute isn't the problem. I think how we're implementing and tracking and monitoring all this stuff is the problem. I totally agree with you on that. And that's what we're trying to, fix up right now. So I just respectfully ask that you let us do that. And if we don't get all these things in order in, I would say more like a year to 2 years, if it's not completely fixed and our policies and procedures are all updated, then we should come back and get scolding.
Well, it's not scolding.
I want to second what Lenny said. Just give us a little bit of time. We'll fix it, Senator. We're really going to fix it.
Again, you said that it's how you implement.
Right.
So the language is broad that has allowed you folks to wiggle and do things that you certainly shouldn't be doing, like construction. So we need to change that. And even if you accepted the early clinical trials construction, right? Procurement.
Well, that what happened before I came on board. In fact, that was right when I came on board. But it was already decided by the cancer center to do that.
Whether you came on or not, your board or whoever it is, RCUH,
correct,
accepted that, right?
But
and
again,
who is actually managing that procurement?
So I brought this up before, Senator. We do not do construction management. So we do construction procurement. So there's a big difference a huge difference.
But tell the committee who actually is managing it.
The university is managing them. So that's university managing the actual construction. Right. But if they're purchasing things for the construction, certain things can be purchased through us. Right. And that's the one I told you, we've done over 100 million of construction procurement in the last 10 years. We provided the information to you, and we literally made only, I believe, $600,000 in that 10-year period off of that because of the MTDC and federal rules.
It's not so much what you made. You know, the problem is UH is supposed to follow procurement laws, and they've gone to you folks so they can skirt it. So here, Jan Govea and facilities did not want to handle the procurement. They wanted the exemptions. So they go to RCUH, you do the procurement, but they end up managing it anyway. I mean, how is that possible?
That is managed by Cancer Center, I believe.
Yeah. What you described.
It's people that are doing. That's what was testified to.
Yeah, Cancer Center.
What you described, Senator, was past practice, but Jen is not here, but to her credit, and I know some of you may disagree, has done a pretty good job in the construction side. So
that's not the point. The point is you're skirting the procurement process and jumping to RCUH to benefit by those exemptions, which is the very issues that people like Tim Lyons and our procurement officers concerned about whether or not you're following the procurement laws. And as we heard in the Education Committee, we're trying to be consistent with procurement across the board.
So as far as the construction part, just to let you know, I'm okay with giving up all the construction procurement and having that sent back to the university for them to take care of. So this 2 million, don't even put 2 million, just take it all back.
So we can.
I would say take it all back. Now, I don't think UH is going to agree with that, but that's not, and the reason being it takes up so much time and effort on our part. We hardly get paid anything for it because the MTDC rules, yet we're always getting dragged into all this stuff. Because there's a lot of work, and the part that people say, we're saving $1 million.
So
it's not going to be saving.
This is construction, so this goes procurement through construction. The procurement office within the university has never been the fastest processing office for the last 32 years I have been here. From day one, when I arrived in 91, my complaint was the procurement office.
Maybe you should remove the procurement officer then.
The chief procurement officer. We might have that next year when it sunsets and it goes back to gangs.
I know procurement is difficult. I'm not a procurement expert, but it has always been quite
the
a
procurement
process.
person is not a procurement expert in it. I was making some procurement changes on the university.
Okay, the last recommendation. UH and RCUH should require UH employees to use UH e-travel system to prepare travel requisites and completions. Have you folks done that?
I don't know the answer to that.
We ran into some issues with people believing that we should still maintain 2 separate systems, but the decision to change that has not been made yet.
Why not? 2 separate systems, meaning the other system is not transparent, right?
I don't think it's a transparency issue. I think it's who does it better and quicker. Without going into details of who.
I don't want to throw the president under the bus, but that was his baby is when he was the CIO, the travel system. So I think it's a pretty good system. I use it.
I think the system is, speaking from experience, it's way better now than it's ever been. So I have not heard of complaints like before. Before it was a big issue.
Yes.
Years ago.
Why is it that we're requiring UH employees to use it instead of using IBS or I don't know what else they might be using that can't be tracked?
I think it comes down to, and Vasilis can correct me if I'm wrong, if it's extramural funding and tied to extramural awards, that's where it's appropriate to be using the travel for RCUH. Whereas if it's more state related, then it would be under the state. Just because of the use of funds and tracking for tracking purposes.
But we can't track it with RCUH.
You can track it with RCUH. We actually have all the records. And just so you know, board, a lot of the requests you folks make, we're providing the information to UH. It may not have our name on there, but we're working diligently to grab all this information and provide it. Part of the issue that we have is the computer system that we have is very old and antiquated. We're on the 5th year of our system, and we finally are going to change the AS400 system, and that's on its way right now, and it's tied to the revolving account issue. And I think in another year, we're going to be in very good shape to be able to provide that kind of information much quicker, and it'll be tied to UH like you asked us to do, and through Garrett Yoshimi's office, we'll be able to pull that information much quicker.
Okay. So can you just share with us, because I know some of the testifiers talks about RCUH coming to a grinding halt, and I know that you folks have gone out and asked people to come testify. How many employees do you folks have?
One, we did not go out and ask people. Let's say who said that I called and said to testify.
But there was some.
I don't roll like that. So anybody who would say that, now we do give people notice. I'm a person of notice. Everybody should know what's going on. I did get calls from people saying, "What do we do?" And I said, "You need to go to UH because there are UH PIs, and I don't control the UH PIs."
How many employees do you
We have core staff. We have roughly 35 people now. Okay. And then overall we have, let's see, statewide for all the extramural awards now is about, I think, 2,700 employees. So that's all the employees supporting UH researchers.
Okay, so what will come to a halt if this measure is passed?
Well, I don't know what they said because I haven't seen their testimony.
No, but generally, they just said, this is bad. We oppose it. It'll bring it to a halt. So I just kind of want to get an idea of what it is.
Can I offer what is going to come to, not to a halt, but it's going to...
It says many livelihoods depend on continued function of RCOH. As written, this bill could send RCOH into a grinding halt. Is that what the sponsors intend? No, that's not what the sponsors intend. So I just want to understand what is it that you folks believe will come to a grinding halt?
I don't think something is going to come to a grinding halt. But what is going to become slower, the HR piece or the hiring piece from RCUH is going to become much more cumbersome. And again, we know the concerns you've raised, and internally we're working with RCUH, our Office of Human Resources, and my office to address those concerns. So that one is going to be, it's going to delay a lot of the hires if the measure passes.
Okay.
If I may add, I agree. I don't think it's going to come to a grinding halt, but it's not going to be good. As far as this HR specifically, we do payroll for all these people. University of Hawaii doesn't do their payroll for their people. That's done through the state. So they don't have the people to run those offices and get the payroll done. And again, we have the least amount of people in a while doing the most amount of work. So it would definitely take a lot of coordination between RCUH and UH to get all this stuff working properly. And I'm not opposed to that, but I am opposed to doing it in a fashion that all the right people aren't at the table and coming up with a really good plan to move forward, because it is very important to the state of Hawaii. However way you want to call it, whoever's doing the work, it's extremely important. That's a ray of sunshine right now, is all this funding coming in from the federal government. I just don't want to see that messed up, quite frankly. So whatever we can do to work and make sure it works properly is that's what I'm about.
Okay, so one of the testifiers, been a professor at university for 35 years, states, furthermore, the language in SB 1511 would require external parties, including the U.S. government and foreign entities, to certify that the University of Hawaii or State of Hawaii is unable to successfully administer contracts. Such requirement would be embarrassing to try to implement and unworkable. No funding agency would be able or willing to do that. That is already part of the law. This professor doesn't know that? It's already part of the law, and it's already in the original purpose in 1965, I read from the committee report, is that it may also enter into such contracts with the federal government and other public agency when it's determined that the University of Hawaii or any other state agency cannot effectively carry out such research. And that's currently in the law. So, it just behooves me, and these kinds of testimonies come in from professors that don't realize that it's already part of the law.
Well, I think, to the defense, I haven't read that, but to the defense of some of these people, they don't get notice of these things, and then they don't know.
They read the bill, right? Or they just go on whatever the folks notify them about.
Well, we just notify them of the bill, and that's it. And it's up to them if they want to read it or submit testimony in support of that's what we say, in support of or opposition. That's all on them. We don't. I don't.
So I just wanted to, on record, to address some of that, because they do say, what were we thinking? What is our intent? And so I'm, articulating some of this and pointing out that it's already in the law.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not been a problem. And getting the governor's approval for these internal requests is also part of the law.
Correct.
We're not adding that in.
Yeah. I will not disagree with everything you're saying, Sandra. I will just implore you, give us a little bit of time to do this in an elegant way. I really ask you to let us do this, and if we can, then hit us on the head. And it takes time, even for the revolving. I have to meet personally with every one of these faculty members that they get these revolving accounts, because they are were upset. So it's not easy. It takes time. And if we are to do something like that, you brought now the internal service orders. It's going to take time. I don't know. There are a couple hundreds of those, Lenny.
We have 270 intramural projects.
We don't expect it to be done overnight, but we do want to clean up the language, would then help you to get these things going. And whether it takes a year, 2 years, certainly. But in the meantime, I think we need to at least try to clean up the language where we can and make it clear to the public so they understand what is the purpose, the intended purpose of RCUH.
Don't disagree with you.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, she really kind of sums it up. I just like to know if you guys really understand the city of the bill. I mean, we had longshoremen come up and say on the transparency. I know you guys saying you guys need time, and in the testimony you guys say we don't need the bill. But if we keep kicking the can down the road with a lot of agencies or a lot of departments, they come and say we don't need this right now. Let us do this and let us do that. And we're not going to have transparency with nothing that we're trying to go forward in. Is if there wasn't a concern, then this bill wouldn't have been generated. And I understand the opposition. I understand that you guys don't feel that way, but do you guys really understand why this bill was generated?
I do, Senator, and I really appreciate the intent. I truly do. I've been here for 32 years, and yes, the Senator Kim did brought up that in the past a lot of things had been abused or a lot of situations weren't transparent, as you mentioned, but I totally get it. I'm not going to deny that.
The reason, just one quick follow-up. The only reason why I bring up, I'll tell you one thing that always resonates when it comes to this kinds of stuff with research, money, accountability. I cannot remember the class, but the class had a project, research, was paid by the university $30-something thousand, I forget the amount. It was supposed to go Mauna Kea, go do research, something like that. And we found out they never even went to Mauna Kea. But we had them bill chips and sodas, food, and all this kind of stuff. You see what I'm saying? So every time we come to this kind of stuff, I never will forget that. That's the first kind of hearings I was in. Somebody took the state money, right? You guys talking about state money, and took a trip because the whole topic was about the Mauna. And they never went step 1 foot probably out of the hotel. I don't know. They didn't go to the Mauna, but that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying
it sounds terrible, Senator, but
but I'm saying when I hear that, that's the thing that comes to mind. You know what I mean? And that's the reason why I really think that something like this is necessary. Thank you, Chair.
Members, any other questions?
I have a question. I guess I can't wrap my head around the issues that you guys are having with your IT, your system, because isn't President Lasner an IT guy? Does he know about these issues?
I think David is pretty good IT guy. Yes, he is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
there is a lot of history to all these IT issues, Senator. It will take us more than 15 minutes to go through those. Goes back when Executive Director was Harold Matsumoto and why certain decisions were made. So it's gonna, it's gonna take a little bit more than 15 minutes to go through that IT and how it's split between UH and RCUH. And
I guess my question is the president aware of the issue, and can he not help resolve the issue?
Absolutely. Yes. As I represented to you folks a couple of years ago, we were going to work closer together with UH all across the board with everything, and the IT was one of them. RCUH was at the end of their 5-year initial IT plan that they had spent a whole lot of time and money on. The AS400 was the last big step to replace. That was on hold because of COVID, and then we gathered together with Vasilis, President Lasner, and Garrett Yoshimi, and said that we're going to work very close with UH IT before we make any decisions moving forward. So the most recent decision And I'm not an IT person, so I don't know all the technical details, but the systems that we're getting is tied to what the University of Hawaii uses. And I don't want to hack it at all, so I'm not even going to guess. But we're using a system that is supportive of, and they're going to help us to the greatest extent possible with that system. Now that we're located at East West Center, they're going to be actually working closer together with us on that and making sure that the systems we have work together.
But with all due respect, during the COVID would have been a perfect time to work on the IT issues.
Well, I'm glad you pointed that out because I felt that way also. But certain people decided that put a hold on it because we don't know where things are headed, and it was put on hold. So I kicked it back up as soon as I could, and it started rolling again, and we got it done, and the agreement is in place, and we're moving forward.
I don't even know what to say. I'm sorry. Okay. Anybody else would like to ask any more questions? Okay, if not, let's move on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Senate Bill 1151 relating to Hawai'i Community College Promise Program exempts students who are enrolled in certificate programs from the requirement to complete the free application for Federal Student Aid, FAFSA, each academic year to be considered eligible for the Hawai'i Community College Promise Program. We have Candace Park from the Department of Attorney General's Office.
Good afternoon, Chair and members. Just want to point out that the Constitution requires that the law be identified as a matter of statewide concern. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Christian Firm, testifying for your Hawaii Professional Assembly, HUPA, in support.
Good afternoon, Chair. Serving Firm, Senators.
Thank you. Joshua Kaakua, testifying for University of Hawaii in support.
Good afternoon, Chair, committee members, Vice Chair. The community college just stands on its testimony and support.
Thank you. And Daitri Bartolos, testifying for Council on Development Disabilities.
Thank you, Chair. There's no stand strong support.
Okay, thank you. And Erica Molino, not here. Anyone else wishing to testify on this measure? Now, members, any questions? Hearing none, we're moving on. Item 4 on the agenda, Senate Bill 1598, relating to water testing, appropriates monies to Department of Science of the University of Hawaii Maui College to support water testing on the island of Maui, including supplies and creation of 2 FTE positions. You guys don't have fuel in your water, do you? In Maui?
I think it's because there's only one testing facility right now.
I'm just kidding. Okay, we have testifiers Della Teraoka. Okay, then I don't know why I heard no. Della Teraoka in support.
Members Josh Kaakua on behalf of Della and community colleges who stand on a written testimony and support.
Okay, thank you. And I believe that's it. Anyone else wishing to testify on water testing? Hearing none. Members, any questions? No questions. Whose bill is this? I don't know whose bill it is. Okay, with that, we're going to recess and go into decision making. Thank you. Call the Higher Education Committee back to order for decision making. Members for Senate Bill 1414, this is the one that relating to the university taking over their grants and research training grants to be expended through the university or procured through the university. Recommendation that was passed with amendments. I want to go over the amendments on page 2 of the bill, and some of these amendments were recommended by the Attorney General. On page 2, on line 9, it says, provided that the contracts involve research and training, we're going to delete grants and contracts. And we're going to add in the language that was recommended by the Attorney General. So she recommends section 2, page 2, lines 7 to 12. Notwithstanding, this chapter shall not apply to contracts made by, and also recommends removing the entirety section 3, page 2, lines 20 to 21. Continue on page lines 3 to 7. So those recommendations, and then to also note that the Hawaii Research Training Revolving Fund, and refer to it as RTRF, so people understand that. Also on same page, page 2, line 16, we're going to add the word "and" between goods and services and delete the word construction, as it was testified by Dr. Sermos. He's okay with that. And on the bottom of line 21, adding the word that chapter 103D only for procurement of goods and services for research and training. And on line 13, description of the University of Hawaii's internal policies and procurement procedures. And then to add the language of statewide concern. Did I leave out anything, Sam? Any discussion, members? Hearing no discussion, the chair votes aye for the vote.
For Senate Bill 1414, recommendation is passed with amendments. Chair votes aye, Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Fukunaga.
Aye.
Senator Kitagaran.
Yes.
Senator Favela.
Aye.
Measures adopted, Madam Chair.
Thank you. For the next measure, I'm going to recommend a number of that we pass with amendments. And members, I understand we've been working with them, trying to get things more clarity. We want more accountability, more transparency, and this measure will continue on to Ways and Means. So there's some time for even further amendments if it's so needed. I will try to go through it in detail. There's concerns, beginning with page 4. The concern about the, not being able to hire people. This language about bargaining unions were certainly requested or brought up by bargaining units, and no one testified at this. So at this point, I'm going to recommend that we delete some of it. We could always put it back in if in fact they do provide testimony. So starting on line 3 on page 4, for each state project or program involving the Research Corporation and each project or program involving Research Corporation and state employee, I'm going to delete the words, the university shall consult with the exclusive representative of the appropriate bargaining unit to review and conform of positions with exceptions to collective bargaining. Take that out, but say that the corporation shall not supplant civil service employees. And then delete the next words, and if any civil service employees and so forth, all the way down to line 13 where it says report to the legislature. But the words "and obtain approval from the governor on all initial requests for service projects." That language is in the master agreement, members, that they do get approval by the governor for these internal service projects. So that line would stay in. On page 9, no, it's on page 9. Sorry. On page 12, we're going to delete the renovations of $2 million, as was testified and was brought up that they would agree to that. It was also raised by Tim Lyons. On page 14, starting on line 14, these are on special accounts, revolving accounts, and internal service orders. Would like to add in the words on page 19, line 19, that says, or private or public grants, awards, or gifts related to research and training. And then on page 15, on lines 20, where it says all internal service orders and revolving accounts of Research Corporation that involve the use of university intramural funds shall be, and this will come out of the guidelines or criteria for the RCUH service intramural funded projects to take on, number 3, limited projects in which the operations will lie outside the state. And then to allow for projects that are substantial amount of ship operations, technical and shop type operations, computer services, involvement with other RCUH projects. We will leave all that, we will leave that in. And then, and that it shall be reported to the legislature. And that these projects shall be related directly to research and training. And those are all the amendments. So, you know, that's quite a lot, members. Okay, we can move these up.
Yeah, Madam Chair, going back to the issue with the bargaining units, to leave that in, but just request that they be notified.
Okay, so we would still take out the language that says the university shall notify the representative of the appropriate bargaining unit.
Correct.
Members, any objections to that amendment? Senator Panata.
Thank you. I appreciate your amendments, and I do have some concerns because one of the testifiers who has been assisting on the Red Hill issue, expressed very strong concerns, and especially at a time when we have been struggling to really get accurate data from, the military and others for a long time. I would really hate to see some of that work not be able to be undertaken if the changes make it much more difficult for individuals like that individual to continue this work, because in so many instances, we have been kind of going uphill with a lot of the Red Hill testing, and I can appreciate, where they're coming from. But thank you.
No, I appreciate that, Senator. Certainly no one more than me who live right below that, testing those wells, would not want anything to not continue. But I cannot see where these clarifying language is going to prevent them from doing their work. And if they can submit something to us, then certainly would entertain those amendments, because that is not the intent. So thank you for bringing that up. Any other discussion, members? Any other amendments that you would like the chair to entertain? If not, the chair, and then I did say clarifying language, right? To add in clarifying language that the statewide concern. Okay. So with that, chair votes aye.
For Senate Bill 1511 to pass with amendments, chair votes aye, vice chair votes aye. Senator Fukunaga.
Reservations.
Senator Agaran.
Yes.
Senator Favela.
Aye.
Measures adopted.
Okay, thank you. On Senate Bill 1151, relating to the Hawai'i Community College Promise Program, recommendation is to pass with technical and non-substantive amendments. Any discussion? Hearing none, chair votes aye.
Senate Bill 1151, chair votes aye, vice chair votes aye. Senator Fukunaga.
Aye.
Senator Keith Agaran.
Aye.
Senator Favela.
Aye.
Measures adopted, Madam
Thank you.
Chair.
And the last bill, Senate Bill 1598, relating to water testing, again, passed with technical and non-substantive amendments. Any discussion? Hearing none, chair votes aye.
Senate Bill 1598, passed with amendments. Chair votes aye, vice chair votes aye. Senator Fukunaga.
Aye.
Senator Keith Agaran.
Aye.
Senator Favela.
Aye.
Measures adopted, Madam Chair.
Thank you, and that is the end of our agenda. We're adjourned. Thank you.